Hello, good afternoon. How are you all doing today? It actually is snowing here, so that's why I'm not outside. I wasn't expecting it because it looked really nice out for most of the morning. So I was like, okay, I can do my tea talk outside. Guess not. It's not bad. It's just some flurries, but I mean, I saw some of my friends in the UP got inches of snow, which is insane to me. Um, it's just been so up and down with the weather here, so it's been crazy. So, what are you guys drinking? I am, well, here's my teacup because I always like to show it off. There's a little rose inside. And then these cool little yellowish gold panels. Doesn't say where it's from, which is weird because usually it says like China or, you know, England. A lot of them are because the porcelain, tea time. But I'm drinking loose leaf tea today that I actually got from my sister for Easter in a cute little care package. So it's Earl Grey tea from Ackroyd's. So it's a Scottish blend. It's really good. It has these blue flowers in it. They're really, really, really nice. Um, what was your quarantine Easter like? Um, Weirdly, mine was also my 33rd birthday, so that was a weird, weird dichotomy kind of thing. Um, I made sure though, which stunk because Jackie had to work, but for most of the day she was with me, and then had to go to the ER where she does her stuff. Um, but I made sure that I like made a couple Zoom dates for myself so that I wouldn't feel sad and lonely. So I had, a friend one, and then after that, my family tried to play card games, which didn't really work. But we tried. But it was fun. It was really nice that that was the option that we had. I didn't eat anything cool. We made chili, vegetarian chili, which will last a couple days, and that's why we made it. It didn't feel like cooking because it's just constant cooking. Now that we rarely go and get takeout now, just because again, we don't want to overload the system and just don't want to deal with it. So I've just been constantly cooking stuff, and it's nice to be able to be like, oh, I can make a big batch of something and be done with it. But I've been seeing a lot of different ways people were doing Easter. If you did anything fun, post. Again, what are you drinking? What are you grateful for today? Anything new as we're stuck in our caves and having to reanalyze certain things, even when we're forced out of our caves that we would like to stay in. We change what we're thinking and feeling at the time. I'm grateful for finding a lot of support in my online community and actually seeing a lot more people going live on Facebook and on YouTube and basically sharing their gifts that they can't do in real life with people that maybe didn't realize that they were good at. Like, I saw somebody singing some, like, there's a quarantine karaoke. I thought that was so cool. I haven't gotten the guts to do it yet. Um, maybe one day. But like I love watching painting YouTube videos recently. It's so relaxing. Especially like the cool ones. I watched one where there was like this beaded stuff. They put paint on it and then like slowly moved it so it would make swirlies. It was so cool. And so I was just like, oh. I've seen a bunch of like baking stuff where they're, putting all this intricate, can't talk, intricate designs on it. So I want to tell you guys, go for it. I know a lot of times, like, my nervousness stops me from doing things because it's like, well, nobody cares. Why would I put myself out there? It's just gonna, I'm gonna be rejected somehow. It doesn't matter. Somebody might see it and it might give them some comfort, or they'll learn something new if they didn't know that, you could sing or show them, a yoga pose or, something like that crafty wise. I've been watching a bunch of crafty people because, I've been trying to get ideas on what to do day in, day out to keep myself, doing new things, being creative. So maybe something that you do is going to help another person that you barely even know. So just go for it. Show us your gifts. If somebody doesn't want to watch it, they won't watch it. It's really not that big a deal. Ugh. Anyone else drinking something fun? What are you grateful for? Mm, I love Earl Grey. It's one of my favorites. All right, so I figured today, because I've been kind of looking into certain Buddhist teachings recently, because I'm reading a specific book about motherhood and Buddhism, which I think I talked about in the first episode. But a lot of it I've been kind of seeing come back into my life as I need it. So the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism I feel can really help some people if they've never heard about it. I like learning about different religions that I might not have known growing up. Um, I want to learn their rituals, learn why they do things, the history and stuff like that. Because I feel like, at least for me, my spiritual path isn't necessarily following one particular route. And sometimes things resonate with me for a little while and then it just kind of doesn't make any sense anymore. So I like to always be constantly learning things, reading new things, sacred, like anything pretty much, because, that's just another way of figuring out certain truths and it might be in a way that makes more sense to you than how you were raised or what you've been doing for a long time. A lot of aha moments happen. We're like, that makes so much sense. um, but if you're, if you come from a Christian background or not, or even just a non-religious background, just learning new things from ancient people and ancient religions is really eye-opening. And if it doesn't make sense to you, then leave it. But sometimes just a little nugget of truth will kind of come in and be like, oh, that makes so much sense. Why not? You do what you do and you don't really search for more. So I figured I'd kind of talk about the four truths of Buddhism. So when the Buddha was enlightened, hi Lisa, um, basically this was his first sermon that he kind of came down after meditating for a long time under the Bodhi tree. Um, so these are the four truths that he gleaned from his enlightenment that he had to say first. So a lot of people also think of it as, it's a pessimistic way of looking at the world. A lot of times people think that Buddhists are just they're pessimistic, they're not positive. They think that a lot of them there's multiple lifetimes. So it's like you're in this constant wheel that keeps on turning and keeps on turning. But it's not necessarily pessimistic. It's just this is a truth, and this is how they have adapted that truth so that people who haven't been enlightened or haven't gone inside and felt that connection like the Buddha did, how they will react to it, how they'll like assimilate it into them, be like, okay, that makes sense to them. So the first one is in life there is always suffering. So that is a truth. Not even necessarily material suffering, like I have a disease or I have a hurt in my body or pain. Um, Most of it is going to be psychological suffering, emotional suffering, because most of us don't want things to change. We don't like change. And in that, we suffer because if we're having a good cycle, like a good day or a good, good time in our life, we don't want that to end. And when it eventually does, like it always does, we suffer from it. And because we want to keep reaching, keep bringing it into us. So, like all the positive we want to stay. But then when the negative comes, we don't want it. So we suffer that way because we're like, no, 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 I want that positive, time back. So we're always reaching, striving for something that we can't control because in life, everything is constantly in flux. It's never static for long. And a lot of times, all of our suffering comes from thinking, no, 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 I can prevent this. I'm never going to die. My family, my loved ones are never going to die. No, no, no. So that's the main part of the first noble truth is that a lot of times that suffering is also self-made, self-inflicted because we're constantly trying to hold on to things and we're constantly disappointed um, in people, in situations. Like if somebody does something that you don't like, that they weren't supposed to do, you get disappointed and you suffer. So, yes, there's always suffering in the world. So, for the second one, the cause of suffering is that craving for keeping things the same, for something better in our lives, for that future, to let go of your past, to like let all that negative baggage away. It's like you're constantly trying to strive and reach for things that aren't here right now. So that is the major cause of suffering. So wishing things were permanent, that, attachment to things that you wish to keep. So becoming attached to anyone or anything will eventually lead to suffering because we all shift, we all evolve, we all eventually die. And so even, a loving pet, you can have so many good years with them. And then when they start to start getting sick and getting older, and it's painful to see that loving pet just start to decline because that's the circle of life. And then it's such a pain for a long time because you wish that they were still with you. You can talk about with people as well is even worse because their absence is the suffering that we feel because we want them back. We want them in our lives. So that is what causes our suffering. Also with ignorance. So thinking that we're separate and alone, that we're not connected to every living thing on this planet in the universe. We are just a speck in the cosmos, but we are connected to every other speck. And that's that innermost, that's who we truly are, is that Buddha nature, that Christ nature of what is eternal, what connects all of us, why we feel so connected, like in sync when we're in nature, when we're outside, when we feel the breeze. It's because we're connecting to our own nature because we are part of it. So having that ignorance that you are on your own, that your ego wants you to keep thinking that you're by yourself and that you're the most important thing. You're the center of the universe and you got to take what you can get. So that's why a lot of people are, greed happens because you think that everybody's trying to take from you and you're the most important person in the world. So just realizing that if you feel that way, if that is the way that you think of the world, then you're ignorant to who you are, who everything is, how the world works. Number three, there is an end to suffering. That's a good truth. There's always an end to suffering. Just like I said before, that it's temporary. There is no permanence. Everything is always moving to the next and always in a cycle, always ups and downs and lifting. Um, Suffering ends when we find that Buddha nature inside and the truth of our real nature that we are all one. So that's when we end our suffering, kind of, that nirvana, that enlightenment, that you understand that everything is about love and connection because once you start feeling that, everything else falls away. Everything else makes no sense. How people can hold such hate in their hearts and hate for themselves. Like, that's a major one for me when I started learning about this and self care. I was hurting myself because I had low self esteem, because I didn't think I was worth it. So it's like thinking, well, you're hurting everyone when you're just not taking care of yourself. So, not thinking of it in terms of, oh, it's just, I'm cool, it's fine. I want to think of others. You still need to take care of yourself because we're all the same, we're all connected. So if you're not taking care of yourself, there's no way you can think past that. You're not getting your needs met. You know what I mean? Um, Hold on. And so the last noble truth is the path. So, how to get out of suffering. So, to constantly be in this path to getting closer and closer to our natural state, our Buddha nature, our inner light, our connectedness to all living beings. So, with Buddhism, they have their own path. They have an eightfold path of ethics, ways of living, not basically hurting another creature, because you are hurting yourself when you do that. Um, there's other ways, like the Ten Commandments. Christians use that as their rule book on how to live. So every religion has its own path to getting to where we all want to go, is feeling that connection, feeling like we matter in the grand scheme of things. What is this world even for? So with, Buddhists, they believe that everything that comes into your path is to teach you something. Yogis feel the same way. Just like everything that's bad that you think is bad, eventually you learn something from it, and there was a reason for it. And a lot of times when you're in it, you're like, what sucks? Like, I could have learned this differently. Like, why did I have to be put into the fire in order to learn this? Same thing with, when people stop believing in God, saying like, well, why would God do this to me? Why is this happening? I'm so mad. It's because you don't want it to be happening to you. um, and it's not necessarily somebody's doing it to you. It's there for you to get information, for you to understand. Like, when you're suffering the most is when you teach yourself something the most. Like, you get something out of it more than if you were just having the best time of your life every single day. You wouldn't look deeper. You wouldn't look into be like, why is this happening? What is the meaning of life? Why am I here? Where do I go? So that's in the suffering is where you find truth. You find who we all are altogether. And that's when a lot of times you go inward. You ask God or whoever that resonates, the universe, what to do. And then eventually you get out of it. And then you learned something that you needed to know. And it sucks. But just knowing that, as long as you're staying that path of trying to stay in the present moment. Now I've talked about mindfulness. That is a big Buddhist thing as well. Sorry. So just doing your meditation, doing your prayers, doing your rosary, your mala beads, keeping your mind in check. Because that's a lot of the reasons that we suffer. We are our worst enemy. We're constantly thinking of negative things, constantly thinking of the bad that happened to us or what could happen to us. So having that mindfulness perspective of trying to stay in the present moment, because this too shall pass. Even if this present moment sucks, you will eventually get out of it. Suffering happens. You got to get through it, but this too shall pass. So you're always telling yourself, it's going to get better. It's always going to get better. And then it might get a little worse, but that's life. And there's a reason for everything because you needed it at that time. Um, we have everything we need to end our suffering inside. We tend to be that worst enemy. So just making sure you're trying to stay in your mindfulness practices, your self-care, because then if you stay the path and have like a steady, normal daily practice of getting yourself out of those bad situations in your mind, in your monkey mind, then it your suffering decreases because you're not so stressed out. And then, everything else kind of comes. All right, so talked enough about that. So now I want to finish a meditation on the noble truths. So if you want to get comfortable, take your last sip of tea. Make sure your spine is as straight as possible. You can close your eyes. Bring attention to your breath. When practicing mindfulness, your breath is always there to remind you that you're still alive, still breathing in and out. There will always be difficult times in our lives. There will always be things that you wish you had, people that disappoint you, scenarios you wish weren't happening. Change is a natural part of our human experience. Live in each breath you take. Go with the flow of life and cultivate gratitude for your many blessings. Look inside for the answers you seek. Tap into your connection to the plants and ancient trees, to the birds flying in the blue skies, to the stranger that you walk past. To Gaia, the planet, the earth that supports us always. Send loving kindness to all living creatures. Send loving kindness to yourself. Take a deep inhale, then exhale with a sigh. 2 more times. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Smile. This too shall pass. Just remember that you have everything that you need inside and that we're all here for each other. Thank you so much for being with me today. I hope this helped. And I will see you, I believe, I don't remember now. I'm not even gonna say it. Usually been doing this 2 times a week, so keep an eye and subscribe if you want to know when I go live next. Um, love you. I hope you're doing okay. Stay safe. Namaste.